Hello. Today we're talking about the history of Avalanche Studios Group. Avalanche Studios was established in 2003 by Linus Blomberg and Christopher Sundberg. And before we go in and talk about the actual Avalanche, let's talk a little bit about background, what happened. And prior to having their own companies, Christopher Sundberg used to work in a video game publishing for on FIFA Soccer for Electronic Arts, and they both used to work for Paradox Interactive, and they published games such as Europa Universalis. Eventually, they both left and founded their own video game company called Rock Solid Games in 2001. They partnered with a Conspiracy Entertainment, which was an American third-party video game publisher, to develop Tremors, the game based on Universal Pictures series Tremors. It was planned to release for PC, PlayStation 2, and Xbox and Nintendo GameCube in 2003. Near the end of 2002, another Stockholm-based video game design company called Starbreeze Studio announced that they would buy Rock Solid Games. The agreement was eventually broken and two companies merging was stopped. Meanwhile, Universal Pictures pulled the plug on the game, which led Rock Solid Games declare bankruptcy. Sundberg and Blomberg became unemployed and in debt since they lost the funding. Later in 2003, they decided to start over and establish the Avalanche Studios with only 6 other employees. Getting back into the industry and working on new fascinating projects to revive the company wasn't that easy. The new prototype game was called Rico Terror in the Tropics, having the protagonist Rico skydiving down on the roof of the truck, firing and chasing cars and liberating the revolutionary leader in a jungle setup. As it was said by Sundberg, the chief creative officer of the company, "It's the first game I wrote, the first game we released. It's always been the DNA of the studio. I think more people know about the Just Cause franchise than our company itself." The cooperation with the European video game publishing company Square Enix led Just Cause to hit the industry in 2006, becoming the key in their franchise for Avalanche. Following the success of the first game, Just Cause 2 was announced in 2008. The new huge open world setting, from deep jungles to snowy mountains, from roaming the desert in 4x4s to skydiving from 10,000 feet. Meanwhile, the company acquired another project called The Hunter. It was mainly to experiment with building ultra-realistic, massive open worlds and free-to-play business in game industry. The Hunter was being developed by Avalanche's Expensive World studio, with the goal to create extremely realistic hunting game with beautiful open world design for players to explore. As it was said by the CEO of Expensive World, Pim Hoff, "It's a super slow paced for starters. It will take you several minutes to find a good hideout and spot an animal, and if you're running or making a lot of noise, you will scare away all the animals." It was pushing the limits of the Just Cause game engine to deliver massive and exciting gameplay. In 2009, Aeon Guard was announced by the company as well. An open-world fantasy game featuring World War I fighters, samurais, and knights for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC. Unfortunately, the project was cancelled in 2010 Also, in 2009, the studio lost two publishing deals, value of approximately $35 million, and that put the company in a position to let go 77 of their employees and 20 more later on. 2009 was overall a pretty bad year for many companies around the world, and Avalanche was not an exception. Just Cause 2 did not release in 2009, and it was officially launched only in March of 2010. Furious 2015. In 2011, Avalanche Studio announced the upcoming new office in New York City. The office was officially opened in November 16, 2011. As it was mentioned in press release by Avalanche Studios founder Christopher Sundberg, today was a great day for Avalanche Studios as we've achieved yet another goal by establishing a new studio in the greatest city in North America. We are one of the few independent AAA budget studios remaining in the world after the disastrous economic recession for the last few years. Following the opening of the new studio, the New York team started working on a new project under a code name Mamba. In 2012, Avalanche started developing yet another game called Mad Max. Prior to these, they pitched the idea of open world game in post-apocalyptic environment to many different publishers, though it didn't get to anywhere until the Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment was interested to develop a game for the Mad Max universe. The film director and creator of the Mad Max franchise, George Miller, was consulted during the game's pre-production period. And what's interesting, prior to all this in 2010, Cory Barlog, the game director for God of War 2, began work with Avalanche Studios in Sweden, and it was rumored that he brought up the idea for Mad Max project, and he was working as a video game consultant with Miller on Mad Max. The game was originally set to be released in 2014, but was delayed until 2015. In August 2014, Avalanche Studios announced that they were developing several new projects, calling the 2015 to be the biggest year since the creation of the studio more than a decade ago. While Mad Max was being developed in Stockholm office in Sweden, the New York team was starting to work on Just Cause 3, aka the Project Mamba. The early development began in 2012 when Avalanche Studio sent a research team to Costa Rica to inspect the local landscapes for dense vegetation, beautiful skies, and floating water, of course the jungles, to use the creation of the beautiful, fascinating worlds of Just Cause 3, Mad Max, and a few other upcoming games. On November 11th of 2014, Just Cause 3 was officially announced. The first demo gameplay was shown on Square Enix E3, and the game was officially released on December 1st, 2015 for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. In addition to Mad Max and Just Cause 3, the Expansive World announced an expansion for The Hunter called The Hunter Primal, featuring dinosaurs. It was included a Jurassic landscape of a 9.3 square miles of jungles, camps, and other locations similar to what we can see in the movie series Jurassic Park. Developers also added this new feature of eye tracking to Primal with their partnership with Tobii and SteelSeries. The Primal's eye tracking allowed players to orient the game camera based on where they are looking. And early Steam access for the game was on December 15th, 2014. The full game was launched in March 2015. Within their huge upcoming games, Avalanche Studio also introduced a new strategic battle board game called Rumble City. And like other mobile games, such as it was similar to Crime City. It had a cartoon style brawler where bikers and street thugs were the main actors. Late in 2015, company suffered some minor layoffs and regrettably had to let go some of their very talented developers. And they've described the situation as it was not perfectly matching to they could not perfectly match the team sizes and the skill sets to their teams due to the issue of running many different big projects in the same year. In June 2016, the Sweden office hired Cameron Foot, the lead developer of Just Cause 2 as multiplayer mode. In one of his press conferences, Foot mentioned that as part of an Avalanche, he will be able to bring many of things that the Just Cause 2 multiplayer community loved and valued into the future of Avalanche experience while reaching new heights that mere mode creator could not facilitate. The jackpot. In 2018, Avalanche opens its third studio in Malmö, Sweden. Same year, in May, they announced to be working on a Rage 2 with ID Software. The ID Software was a part of a ZeniMax Media family of companies that provided technical, design, and artistic support to other world-renowned games since they were founded in 1991. On 30th of May, the same year, a Swedish company called Nordisk Film acquired the remaining shares for Avalanche Studio, which was now starting from bankruptcy valued up to $136 million. And just a little mention, back in 2017, Nordisk Film acquired a minor part of the company's shares. And now on May 2018, they acquired the rest, becoming the parent company and the main company to provide funding for the Avalanche's future projects. By the agreement with Nordisk Film, the co-founders Christopher Sandberg and Linus Blomberg will remain at Avalanche Studios and focus on the creative and technical aspects of their game development. The management team with the new CEO Pim Holf will be unchanged. The company will still stay and create independently and develop their own intellectual properties. Also, they will be able to cater to third-party publishers and license holders. Okay, in June 2018, Avalanche announced the first-person game shooter called Generation Zero, which was being built on Avalanche's open-world engine called Apex, and it was being developed and published by Systemic Reaction, another child company for Avalanche. On June 10, 2018, they officially announced the upcoming Just Cause 4. With featuring in-air helicopter collisions, powerful private army, extreme weather conditions, which was also kind of a continuing from where the Just Cause 3 ended. One of the most fascinating parts of the Just Cause 4 was the including a different type of weathers such as tornadoes, thunderstorms, sandstorms, and bringing weapons that you can control, bringing weapons that players can control weather. Game was scheduled to release on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC on December of 2018. In March 2020, the company Avalanche Studios was renamed itself to Avalanche Studios Group to serve as a parent company for Avalanche Studio, Expensive World, and Systemic Reaction. In 2017, the Hunter Call of Wild was developed by Expensive Worlds. Developers mentioned about the most immersive, beautiful hunting experience, the freshly designed animal behavior, dynamic weather system, realistic sound environment, full day and night cycle. Meanwhile, Systemic Reaction was working on Generation Zero. They've announced a new game called Second Extinction coming in May 2020. It was an intense 3-player co-op against mutated dinosaurs and other dangers developed. Under dangers, the game was being developed by a small team of 35 people in Malmö, Sweden. The early access for the game was available on October 13th of 2020, and developers called this a starting point as they would focus on stability before getting to new content. They were planning to bring new heroes, weapons, dinosaur mutations, game modes, events, such as, and etc., while also improving enemy AI and generally tweaking around and improving things. They also posted a long list of known issues that are currently being worked on. In May 2020, Avalanche Studio announced a new location as well in Liverpool, United Kingdom. And initially, the new team would be working in creation of the current and future IPs and mostly working with Expensive Worlds. As we can see, Avalanche had a pretty rough start coming from a bankruptcy and working their way up to become one of the most successful companies, one of the most successful companies of today, bringing us the beautiful franchise of Just Cause that I'm a big fan as well. I hope to see more. This is it. Thank you for your undivided attention.